Man, welcome back to the, July 2018 of our roundtable for the student physical therapist. We have the NPTE on July 21st and 22nd. And I'm thinking back to myself, it's like, was it 5 years ago, guys, that we took our NPT exam?
5 years ago.
Yeah.
It's crazy how fast it goes by. And, the biggest thing I need to think of now is renewing my license because that sneaks up on me every 2 years. I almost forgot after the first 2 years, which was terrible. I'm like, I'm not taking the NPTE again because I don't want to go through that experience.
And don't forget about board certifications too, because now there's a whole new thing for that. Every 3 years, now we get a pass in the first 3 years, but there's
so
3, 6, and 9. There's a lot with that.
So everyone who's watching this, that's what you have to look forward to after you take the NPTE. So July 21st and 22nd are the dates for the exam. And I know each of us kind of have our own topics for July 2018, what we're talking about. For me personally, I am going to be having almost like a quiz type of format of our top 5 things that will definitely be on the National Student Physical Therapy exam. And hopefully that's going to give people from an orthopedic standpoint, cardiovascular, kind of like the biggest topical areas of what to focus on. Chris and Brian, what are you guys going to be talking about?
So I'm going over some different kind of study points or methods of trying to attack the preparation for the MPTE. I try and give some different options and examples for, if you're the long-term type studier like myself, I think I started studying like almost 3 months ahead of the boards or ahead of the MPTE. And then my wife, she started about 2 weeks before the MPTE. And I think if you know, one, what the primary focus is going to be for the big exam, how they test questions, how you should study, and things to consider. Those are the major points that I wanted to go over in my post for the month. So hopefully that'll be of use coming up.
Mm-hmm. Did you guys work while you were studying for the exam?
I did not. I thought about doing it, but I didn't want to overstress myself and worry about running out of time. So I basically studied like 4 to 5 hours a day, 5 days a week for the 2 or 3 months leading up to the boards. And then just made sure I had time to enjoy summer, like get ready for the big move, because I had to move to Arizona before I actually took the MPT.
I was doing like 30 hours a week, so it wasn't a full-time job. But then the way I did it was just study for 2 or 3 hours every night. Mm-hmm. Then I had to put like my longer tests were on the weekends then. So with I was working, I don't know, like 30 to 35 hours a week. But then basically like it can be done. You just have to chunk out more time and be like more organized in the evenings, I guess. But I think both ways work. Brian, you know what you're going to be getting into this month?
It's similar to what Chris was going through. I was one of those people that just was not a good test taker. So I definitely want to talk about different strategies for that. I think I failed every practice exam, to be honest with you. I bombed them.
Those exams are so hard, though.
It was really helpful for getting an idea what the test was going to be like, though. And, when I actually went to test day, the actual test itself was not as bad. And I think it was because of those O'Sullivan tests were just really difficult. So, I think I'm going to talk about some of those strategies.
Yeah, I remember because there was Therapy Ed and then there was O'Sullivan, and
Therapy Ed and O'Sullivan's the same. And then there's Score Builders, and then there's the PEAT.
The PEAT ones were the ones that kind of most closely mimic the exam.
Yeah, and Therapy Ed is by far more difficult, I would say.
I remember getting like, I don't know, 60s and 70s on those exams. And I'm pretty sure I got like an 88 or a 90 on the actual test itself. So
Speak for yourself.
Well, Chris got like 100 on that test. So
what else is new?
They asked him to start writing questions for the exam.
Chris was my study partner for like a full week when I was back home in Chicago. Let me tell you, all my studying got better. What happened to me was I wasn't able to take the test originally in July. They said I couldn't take it because I was moving to California, and California had a certain date, and we graduated, and then we had to send our stuff out.
Oh.
So they told me, we can't approve you, and then USC pulled some strings, and they let me figure out how to take the test like a month later.
You had to work through, like your residency program helped you get into it. Oh, so you took it later.
No, I took it in July, but from May to June, they're like, oh,
Oh man, that'd be
you didn't get
nerve-wracking.
approved. So I wasn't studying, and then the last month I had to study.
And then
It
you
was
can't go
horrible.
into your residency program, and next thing
You
you
got
know,
it
you're
done though.
streets of LA.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, do you guys have, I think it's going to be a stressful time. July and getting up, the weeks up to the exam are stressful. I would say my other piece of advice to students who are taking it is that the final week before, you're going to be prepared, hopefully, within 4 or 5 days before the exam. So start making sure you're getting good sleep those nights before, and just don't stress yourself out on those final 4 to 5 days prior to taking the test. So get as much studying done as you can beforehand, and then really it's almost like a taper session where you get sleep, proper nutrition in those last final days.
I think my biggest point for preparation would be definitely take your practice exams and kind of space it out through your whole studying process, and really analyze like how you did on that test. So one, where were your overall weaknesses? Where were your overall strengths? Because that might decide where you should allocate the rest of your studying, or how you should divide your focus. But then really, really look at each question, the right answers and the wrong answers, because I feel like I learned the most from that, trying to understand why the maker of the test actually thought the reasoning was that's the right answer, or those three are the wrong answers. Because as you guys will see, that on the exam, they're not going to have the best answer. It's going to be what's the best of those four. So you might know the textbook perfect answer, but that might not be what actually is going to be one of the options when you take the MPT.
Yeah, I think the most important thing is if you have a certain strength, don't study that as much. There's a breakdown of the test, and I don't remember exactly what it was, but I know cardio, palm, and neuro were pretty heavily involved with.
It's like 70%, 60 to 70% is musculoskeletal, neuro, and cardio, palm.
Yeah, so focusing on those things are obviously important, but also figuring out what you need to do and study the most. Versus for me, like ortho was not one of the things I had to study as much, but cardio, palm was something I had to study every single day leading up to the test.
Yeah, we all had to review modalities once or twice because those were not our strong suits in school. Do they still even ask about E-stem and like infrared and stuff? I hope not.
I would be shocked if they didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, just because of how dated the MBT questions are and how long it takes to get those new ones out there, I would be very surprised if there's no questions on those things.
Yeah, and don't read research either before the test because it's always a couple years behind.
Mm-hmm.
Well, hey, I think that would be a good wrap-up point for the July 2018 roundtable. So thank you, everyone, for following the Student Physical Therapist, and we'll see you in August, all right?
Yeah, good luck, everyone out there.
Good luck.
See ya.